Cumbria. The news this morning is read by Sian Hall.
One person in Cumbria takes their own life every week. That's according to figures from the Office for National Statistics. A charity working to help those who are bereaved says 700 people in Cumbria are directly affected by the suicide rates and is calling for more of them to be helped to prevent further deaths. Mark Smith is head of suicide prevention and mental health for the British Transport Police. Speaking to BBC Radio Cumbria this morning, he says they try and give staff as much guidance as possible on suicides.
We keep quite a substantial amount of information on our systems in relation to people that do threaten suicide, attempt suicide, and also the locations where those events occur. And we use that to inform our patrol patterns in working with the industry, security staff and volunteers to try and put ourselves in the place where perhaps you can expect to find people in distress.
Plans to transform the prison service
Takes their own life every week. And according to the Office for National Statistics, there's no sign of any reduction in the misery this causes for those who are left behind. One place it sometimes happens is, sadly, on a railway line. Mark Smith is the head of suicide prevention and mental health for the British Transport Police. Earlier, he told me the force is working with the NHS to try and reduce the number of people who take their own life.
Mental health nurses, police officers and police staff work together all day, and what they do is they review the incidents that have occurred in the last 24 hours. They will possibly speak to officers that are dealing with incidents on the network, and they will try and make sure that people get into the appropriate care pathways locally to get support and hopefully get on the road to recovery. And this is generally after someone has either tried to take their own life or presented in crisis on the network.
Well, let's talk about this some more now with two people who unfortunately know the pain of suicide all too well. Paula Mart from Penrith, whose daughter Jamie took her own life, joins me now, along with John Brown, who set up the Cumbrian branch of the national charity Survivors of Bereavement by Suicide, or SOBS, following the suicide of his father. Good morning to you both. Thanks for coming in. It can't be easy still for you now, but I appreciate you coming in, and in the next few minutes or so, hopefully the conversation that we have could maybe, help. If it just helps one person, it's been worthwhile, hasn't it? Paula, tell us about Jamie. What was she like?
Jamie was a bit of a whirlwind. Happy, bouncy, it would sort of try to get me to do everything that she wanted me to do, and sometimes I just had to say, whoa, because boundless energy and a wonderful, wonderful personality. If it was to be done, she did it. And an amazing young person that sort of got everything there was to get out of life.
Did you have any indication that she would end her own life?
No, we didn't have any indication whatsoever. She did struggle with an awful lot of problems through her life. I sort of knew sometime that she perhaps would, need some further care, but I never thought for 1 minute that she would end her life. I thought perhaps one day that she would sort of come off her bike, because she was a downhill mountain biker, and that perhaps, I would have to deal with that one day. But she wasn't the kind of person that you would think that, would end her life the way in which she did it.
And John, whilst Paula lost a daughter, you lost your father.
Yes, I did. I mean, it's over 20 years ago now, 26th of January. The anniversaries never go away. They're always powerful reminders. 26th of January, just last month. My dad was a rural GP. He suffered with what was then called manic depression, or now bipolar disorder, for many years. There can be an increased risk with that particular condition because of the nature of it. So, in a sense, for me, there was always the possibility that this might happen. But that's in complete contrast to many, many other people who die through suicide, where it's a complete, total shock, absolutely out of the blue.
What prompted you then to set up SOBS in Cumbria? What made you really want to push on with doing your bit, as it were?
Well, what happened in 2009, John Ashton, the then Director of Public Health, was very concerned about the incidence of loss through suicide in Cumbria. As you've already said, a person every week above the national average. And he set up he had a 2-day conference to look at how my agencies address prevention. And as a consequence of that, a suicide prevention group was set up, very ably chaired by Jane Matheson from Public Health, now at the County Council. And at the time, I was a non-executive director at the Partnership Trust and had a particular interest in patient safety, for obvious reasons. And I said I would like to be involved. And one of the things that quickly became evident through the early work of that group was that there was nothing specific in Cumbria for people who'd been bereaved through suicide. And that is, it's a very, very, very isolating experience. And
you say isolating. What do you mean by that?
Well, Paula, I'm sure will come in, but for instance, people, friends, neighbours, colleagues. A, there's the complete shock and trauma, and B, there's the I don't know what to say, and I might say the wrong thing. So quite often people will back away, shy away, not say anything, rather than kind of connect with people. And I think what I would say in response to that is, it's not about words. Actually, it's about trying to get alongside people and be with them rather than try and use the words.
That's right, yes. I know of people, where this has happened, where, they will go across the other side of the road rather than talk to someone.
Really?
Who's been through that. Fortunately for me, I've been very, very lucky because I have an amazing group of friends in Penrith who've been extraordinarily supportive. And the people of Penrith as well, as far as I'm concerned, so many people have come up and given me a hug, which is so important. Just gives you that little bit to go on. At one point, I felt as if I was a leaf being taken along with a lot of ants.
Really?
With the support that I've had, it's sort of lots of people there supporting. But I know that is not a common experience.
Can you? That's a wonderful analogy picture that you've painted there as to the support you gave, but can you just give us an idea as to because one of the things we're talking about this morning is the impact on the family and friends who were left behind. What was the impact, if you can put it into words, Paula, for you and your family?
First of all, it was the shock and sort of trying to come to terms with the fact that person is no longer there. And I know that there's some of my friends who still haven't come to terms with it. And, my son, for example, he's trying to find his way through it as well. I think for me, because Jamie was such a force to be reckoned with, it almost feels as if she's still here with me. And I don't think I've come to terms with that even now.
Do you think you ever will?
I don't know. And for some people, the grief or the pain is immediate and it goes on. For other people, it's different. And I think because people don't feel it immediately doesn't mean to say there's something wrong with them. Because everybody deals with it in different ways. And no way is the right way to deal with it.
John, clearly it's important to help those who have been impacted by suicide. You two are prime examples of that. Surely, though, it's just as important to try and prevent the suicides in the first place.
Yes, absolutely. I agree completely. And this group I've talked about, are absolutely committed to that. It's a multi-agency group. You've got voluntary organisations, you've got the Samaritans, you've got ourselves, you've got Mind, etc., working in there alongside the police, the Partnership Trust, the County Council, and so on. A huge amount of effort goes into looking at, what are we doing, what can we do, how can we change that statistic. I'm very cautious about statistics, because at the end of the day, every death is a disaster, and the fact is we have far too many of them, and the consequences roll on for years and years. But I think that group is doing what it can, but I think strongly that, my background social worker, that the community have a big responsibility here. We have to get local people to think about having a positive approach to mental health and mental well-being, and thinking about how to provide support. The problem is, if somebody seems as though they may be not quite right, people's instinct is to back away. They're scared of mental illness. They're scared of saying the wrong thing. They tend to back away. And what we want to try and encourage people to do is turn the telescope round, look at it from the other end, so that prevention isn't simply seen as, oh, you've got to go to the experts, but actually that we as local people have a responsibility. And within Eden district, where we both live, I was in social services there for many years, good networks. We're trying a bit of an experiment. We put an advert in, this is myself and Juliet Gray from Mind, who does a lot of training around suicide prevention. And what we did is we put an advert in the Herald, in the local paper, saying, look, we think suicide prevention should be a community concern. If you're interested, let's have a public meeting and see what happens. And we thought we might get 6, 10, 15 people. We had 50 people came from the community, standing room only.
Very quickly, I'd like to just end on a couple of positives, if we may. Just tell us, Paula, first off, about J-Fest. Very quick, what's being done in honour of Jamie?
J-Fest was a little, a festival set up in Peebles, and it ran for 2 years, and they've taken a break last year and I think this year because lots of people have got other things to do, but they're hoping at some stage to sort of come back. And they raised a lot of money. Some of it went to SOBS, some of it went to suicide, prevention in Peebles and so on.
Lovely.
The other thing I wanted very quickly to say is that when it does go to professionals, please, it would be great if, people, friends and families were involved.
Yeah.
And if they could have numbers for GPs and crisis teams and so on, so that when these people are in crisis, they know who to get hold of.
Lovely. Thank you, Paula. And John, very quickly, the website address for SOBS?
Yeah, is www.sobs-cumbria.org.uk.
Lovely. Thank you both for coming in this morning. I appreciate you sharing your very sad and tragic stories with us, but hopefully by being positive at the end and giving the website address out, we've done some good this morning. Thanks both indeed.
Thank you for having us.
That's John Brown and Paula Mart.